They were in public, I think within the last few days, shook hands on camera in public. There's a lot of interesting things taking place in the Mideast these days.
The voice in the comments of Ambassador James Woolsey on this program last week, talking about an improving relationship between Israel and Saudi Arabia amidst growing threats that Iran may be closer to a nuclear deal with the U.S. As the Obama administration continues to push for this deal with Iran, Israel is left to try and melt the ice with regional counterparts like Saudi Arabia to prepare for a finalized deal. To go in depth on this subject, let's welcome in Rick Ungar, senior political contributor, Forbes.com, and co-host of the Daily Wrap on Newsmax TV. He joins us from Newsmax, New York. And via telephone, we welcome in Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law professor and author of the book Terror Tunnels, The Case for Israel's Just War Against Hamas. Alan, who would have thunk it? Israel and Saudi Arabia? Do you believe they could, for all intents and purposes, ally themselves with one another to deal with Iran?
I have no doubt that they have to form an alliance. I just got back from Israel. I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu and with other leaders in Israel, and there's absolutely no question that Israel is going to form alliances. They may be quiet and below the surface, with others who are opposed to the deal with Iran. Remember, America has no allies left in the Middle East except Iran. Jordan is opposed to this deal. Egypt is opposed to this deal. Saudi Arabia is opposed to this deal. The Emirates are opposed to this deal. I guess they have another ally, Syria. I guess Assad is now in support of the deal because he favors Iran. But America has picked the wrong side here, and it's lost its allies. And its allies now have to make alliances among themselves in order to prevent the implementation of a deal that will give Iran a nuclear weapon within 10 years.
Rick Unger, as we listen to Alan right there, listing all the Arab countries now at odds with the United States, could we see an enlarged alliance, if you will, Israel and almost a pan-Arab confederation against Iran?
Well, I'd have to say that if that were to happen, it would be a terrific byproduct of all of this. That would be a great thing. I do have to say, Alan may have intended something else, but it sounded like he was saying that we have no allies there anymore. I think it's fair to say we do not have allies there on this nuclear deal. He's right in listing the countries that disagree with us. Okay, yeah, but we still have many allies in the Middle East.
Oh, sure.
Look, this whole thing with this nuclear deal, my whole attitude in this has been simple, and that's I understand, people like Alan make a great case against it. My question remains, though, what does somebody have to offer in its place? Obviously, we can't do absolutely nothing about this. I don't think anybody would suggest that. And from everything that I've learned from the military, there are serious questions as to capabilities when it comes to simply blowing up Iran's nuclear capacity. So I'm still looking for that, okay, I hear you, but what would we do?
Well, that's a very good question. And the problem is that the Obama administration has gotten us into a position where the alternatives are bad, worse, and worser. But we didn't have to get into that situation. We could have enhanced the sanctions. We could have driven the Iranians into even greater financial distress, and we would have had a much better bargaining position in relation to the deal. Now, America is on its knees. We need the deal. Iran is holding out, and they're managing to get everything they want. The latest now, Kerry backed away from, we have to know what they have done in the past in terms of trying to develop nuclear weapons. No, we don't have to know that. We'll just stop the sanctions anyway. Everything the Iranians have been asking for, they're getting, and everything that reasonable people want on the other side, we're not even asking for. For example, Netanyahu had a very simple request. Don't let the sunset provision operate 10 years from now unless and until Iran has given up exporting terrorism, dominating the region with its presence in Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, and calling for the destruction of Israel as a non-negotiable consideration. If they don't fulfill those three criteria, then the deal remains in place beyond the 10 years. Why can't we insist on that? That makes all the sense in the world. but America is terrified of losing the deal, more terrified
to that
than
point,
Iran.
And to that point, Alan, Michael Oren, Israel's former ambassador to our nation, released a memoir based on his experience in the diplomatic corps, specifically here in the U.S., and he says President Obama deliberately damaged the relationship between the United States and Israel. Alan, do you agree with that assessment? 30 seconds, please, sir.
Absolutely, I do. And he was pressured into it by J Street and other organizations that claim to be pro-Israel but are really anti-Israel. And Michael Oren's book, which is an extraordinary book, I have it, is absolutely correct in its assessment.
Rick Ungar, has the president left our relationship with Israel irreparable?
Clearly not. And I have a couple issues there. I mean, Alan, to suggest that J Street has the kind of authority or kind of impact that they could pressure a U.S. president into anything, I think stretches credulity. They're just not that powerful. They're not even close to the other one. It may give them cover, but I don't see a pressure situation. I really don't. As to the other things Alan was talking about, it's kind of interesting. I have one part of it's a question, and one part of it goes to the next level. I wonder, and Alan might have better information on this, I wonder if the other countries that we rely on in terms of keeping the financial pressure on Iran, if they were not reaching the end of their rope, where they weren't all that anxious to continue.
Sadly, gentlemen, we are reaching the end of our time, but we will pick this up at a future date. To you both, we thank you very much. Alan Dershowitz, author of Terror Tunnel, The Case for Israel's Just War Against Hamas. We'll be right back.